Hey, this is Dave Kittle, and this is the Dave Kittle Show. In this show and in this podcast, we will be speaking with advisors, professionals, and even healthcare providers in the world of mergers and acquisitions in healthcare businesses, specifically physical therapy practices. And I'm a practice owner myself. The name is Concierge Pain Relief Home Physical Therapy, and we provide in-home physical therapy services in New York City. And I've built a team, an advisory board that I would love to introduce you to. I'm going to have them on the show in the future. And we have professionals and we have individuals on our board that are helpful in creating value. And the goal of what we want to do with this show is give you access to the behind the scenes conversations. We want to talk about things like negotiations, what actually transpires. And if you're a physical therapy practice owner, or if you own a healthcare business, we hope that you will find value in this, in learning how to best optimize and sell your practice or your business for the highest dollar amount. Now, we are actually in the hunt right now, speaking to practice owners in New York and New Jersey and a few surrounding states about potentially acquiring their practices and their businesses. And we have plans and goals in terms of either a roll-up strategy or a related strategy to do so. And so we want to bring this show out to owners just like you, to give you more information and more knowledge about the entire process. And so in this podcast and the show, we're going to cover things like multiples of EBITDA, which is basically net profit. And typically, depending on your size, that is how a potential buyer is going to evaluate your business or your practice and will give you an offer, a purchase price potential offer, as a multiple of your year-end net income, your net profit for the year. And there's a lot of different ways around that. We'll get into it. And my intention is to bring on other professionals and others experience in completing healthcare transactions. So they could be lawyers that we've worked with or interfaced with, accountants, and other advisors and other professionals that have actually been in the boardrooms and been at the table helping practice owners across the country either buy or sell or merge their healthcare practices or their physical therapy practices. So that is one thing off the bat that we're going to cover. And already I have a pipeline of physical therapy business owners that I've known for 5, 6, 7 years or so. And they're going to be coming on over the next several weeks and months to talk about their experience. They're going to talk about what they liked about the experience, what they didn't like about the experience, what they would have changed. They're going to be speaking about things like what was the most important aspect of their due diligence process and what was the most important aspect of the entire transaction. Many of these practice owners that we've spoken with over the last several years, they obviously created a practice and a business that was serving their community, helping patients, hiring healthcare providers, hiring physical therapists, and so much more. And they created a lot of impact and a lot of value in their communities. And they developed a reputation and they built a legacy. And when an owner, for whatever reason, whether they're in their 40s or 50s and they're going to move to another state, maybe they're in their 60s or 70s or 80s and they're going to retire, or they want to start a new project or a new company, they're at some crossroads, they're at some point of their life where they want to take the next step and do something different. Maybe they want to spend more time with their kids or their grandkids, it could be. And there's a lot of different reasons, but they grew something from nothing to a substantial size, and they want to be compensated properly and well for that effort and for the financial track record of the practice. And there's a lot of nuance to this. And if this is boring to you or a dry, boring subject, then this podcast and this show is not for you. But if you are a practice owner that is looking to learn more about the behind the scenes conversations and hear how we speak and how we interact with practice owners and other physical therapy practice owners and healthcare business owners that have gone through either an acquisition, maybe a bolt-on acquisition, they already had a platform company, or maybe they sold 1 or 2 or 5 locations of their practice in the past. We're going to speak with all those folks. We're going to allow them time to, like I said, tell the intricate details about their situations and their transactions. Now, of course, they probably won't discuss things like the actual purchase price. Some owners, we've already recorded episodes, and some of them have actually discussed things like how many times the multiple of year-end profits that they sold for. So we have some owners that had mentioned that they sold for a 3 or 3.5 multiplier of EBITDA. And we're going to ask for as much information that they're willing and able to share so that other healthcare practice owners can understand that there is something at the end of the road, and that needs to be either a succession plan and or an exit strategy. So that means many different things. And one thing it could be is you have a longtime physical therapist, for example, that's been the clinic director, and maybe that individual could potentially take over the practice and buy some percentage of the practice, or maybe even buy 100% of it. And oftentimes there's other, bigger chains, bigger corporate chains that have 20, 50, 100 locations, and maybe they're going to be the potential acquirer for you. Or there could be some folks in the middle, or a group in the middle like us, where we have 2 physical therapists, we have a lawyer, we have an accountant, we have a few healthcare professionals that have gone through hundreds of healthcare transactions, done it the right way, and we want to be as nimble and flexible and respect every part of the process for these potential practice owners as we're interfacing with them and speaking with them about what their goals are. And we can then submit a non-binding letter of intent or a potential purchase agreement for an offer for their practice. And we can actually be flexible enough and not have a big corporate, cookie cutter approach where some owners want to stay on and continue treating in their practice. Some owners want to move away and can just turn the reins over to us. Some owners want to keep their actual practice name, like that's really important to them. And some owners doesn't really matter as much to them. So it's really interesting because every practice owner, every business owner that we're speaking with, they all have different reasons why they're speaking with us, why they're even considering exiting and selling. And some owners want to sell 100% of their practice right now. Some owners would like to retain some percentage and actually kind of stay in the mix as we're bringing kind of like a new energy to their dynamic. So the point of this podcast, this show, is to talk about all that, give that just expansive knowledge and value and impact, hopefully, to the audience in regard to a lot of these conversations that have typically like kept behind the scenes, and there's not a lot of YouTube stuff that's public about it, and helping the healthcare providers and other business owners know that there's different initiatives like this where we can put out a lot of content that will be hopefully some form of training, knowledge, education, so that you can be smarter about the experience. Another thing is that practice owners will get a broker and some don't. So there's nuance there. Like some of them will lead with their negotiations by themselves. Some will go get a broker. We're going to talk about that. We're going to interview brokers. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of doing so. So if you have a broker, the broker is going to take a percentage of the purchase price, whatever that might be. And if an individual, like a practice owner, has a longtime accountant or an attorney or some type of an advisor, that individual might lead or help with the negotiations, and then maybe they don't need a broker. And what we're doing is we're trying to reach out to practice owners, and we're trying to find off-market deals. So that's the one thing that we're looking for and that we really like, is that we have interfaced with different brokers, and we understand that that's one path and that's one potential way. And we've so far enjoyed a little bit more the path of speaking with owners who had considered it in the past, or they had conversations with different buyers or potential buyers in the last couple of years, but for whatever reason, and there's different reasons there that we'll fill you in on as to why they didn't sell. So we want to bring some of those practice owners on here, and without naming too many names and keeping things respectful, these practice owners will tell you that they were approached by XYZ and that they didn't proceed with the deal because something happened. Maybe they changed the terms later. Maybe they made it more difficult in terms of the negotiation or the process of due diligence. I mean, there's so much nuance to this, but at the end of the day, we want to put out great content. We want to be open about our practices and our intentions. And our intentions are to acquire healthcare practices and physical therapy businesses in New York and New Jersey, and then further outside of that as we grow. So that's kind of where we're at. Like I said, I'm going to bring on and interview different professionals in mergers and acquisitions. We're going to speak with business owners, healthcare practice owners, other individuals that have either bought or sold their practices, possibly merged them. There's a lot of activity where, let's say, two different practices that have about 5 or 6 locations each. There's even been success with merging. Then it depends on, are the cultures aligned? Are the incentives aligned? How is the compensation structure of their therapist? Are they all salaried? Are there, performance pay components with bonuses? I mean, there's a lot of nuance to all this. And we're going to try to make it public as much as possible about all of this, all these things behind the scenes. And that way we can possibly use this podcast and this show as a way to get a little bit more exposure for what we're doing and basically utilize it as content marketing. So that's the full disclosure. The full disclosure is that there's, no hidden tricks or nothing, behind the scenes here, other than we're going to use this to expand our network and get in front of more practice owners, potentially like you. So that is the full intent of this podcast. We're going to be publishing it on YouTube. So YouTube videos just like this, you'll hear us on iTunes and hopefully Spotify and a lot of the major podcast players so that you can listen on the go. And we'll show as much as we can. And we would love for your feedback, your comments. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and you can subscribe, like this, comment below. And if you're on iTunes, we would love for you to drop a iTunes review, 5-star or 1-star. Let us know if you like it, you don't like it, because any of these reviews, it actually helps the podcast and the show surface up higher for others to find it organically across the internet. So I'm Dave Kittle. Like I said, I'm a physical therapist, I'm an entrepreneur, and we own Concierge Pain Relief Home Physical Therapy. We provide home visits across all 5 boroughs of New York City and a little bit outside of that in New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island. And we are now at the point of continuing to grow that platform company organically while also growing but via acquisition. So we're growing internally and organically with the main platform company, and at the same time looking to acquire other practices, whether they're home therapy practices, even home health with nursing and home health aides, and the biggest focus of outpatient physical therapy practices that predominantly do orthopedics or neurological cases. And that's pretty much where we're at. So we'd love for you guys to rate, review, comment below, give us some feedback if you're interested, or even send us some information about potential guests you would love to hear about. That's it for now. Again, Dave Kittle here signing off, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye. Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE@CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.